Hello and welcome to Mirror Realm. My name's Nick, and I've got Jarrod on the call with me today.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about, I guess, the ward mechanic is pretty much that. We're going to try and focus the conversation on ward, I think, right? So there's one announcement that's to do with that. We're going to look at the cards on that, and we've fished out a couple of other cards to talk about as well. Let's just start, I think, with trying to work out what ward actually does. So it says here, ward and evil quick rules. If a warded site or unit would be damaged, destroyed, or targeted by a spell or special ability from your opponent, the ward breaks instead. Evil minions, which are demons, monsters, and undead, can't have wards. So, right.
In a vacuum, pretty powerful.
Seems so. Raises some. Just trying to go through some practical examples here to make sure we understand it. So, if a unit is warded and a lightning bolt goes down on the site, it would hit the unit, but instead the warder would be removed because it would prevent the damage. Is that right?
Yes.
If it was magic missiles, the first one would get rid of the ward, but the next two would hit.
Yes.
So cave in would still kill it,
I believe so. Yes. Yeah.
or anything that burrows it is going to kill it because basically,
Yeah, without targeting it.
yeah, if it doesn't target, so earthquake would still kill things because
Any and Fate would as well.
I guess it would get even if it's destroyed, it would remove the ward, but then it would still be in the same location and then die.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, that would be my understanding. Yeah.
So those type of effects like Atlantean Fate and Earthquake, which were already pretty good, are still really good, pretty much. If ward is popular, they're even probably better. Just trying to think of some more examples here. There's a question around the interaction with silence. If silence and or disabled type, if they're gonna remove wards off stuff if something becomes silenced or disabled. So there's a question there.
I think disabled definitely would, but silence is a bit more up in the air. I think it probably would, but would have to double check that.
I did quickly try to check that before. I couldn't find any information on that anyway, so not sure there's an actual answer out there at the moment for that one. So that's just worth keeping tabs on. I guess we can just assume for now.
Those the basically looking through the codex now, and basically if ward is considered a special ability, silence would remove it. But if it's considered a basic ability, it wouldn't. And I don't think it would be considered a basic ability because that's like move, attack, defend, intercept, pick up, drop. So it probably
is it considered
probably
an ability at all of the?
I think it's probably considered a passive ability or maybe a triggered ability.
Yeah,
so yeah, it'd probably be under the special ability. Would be.
I don't know. Let's just keep things simple and just say it's rightly or wrongly that it sort of behaves like silent being not silence stealth. Something like stealth, right?
Yeah.
Where you have a stealth token. Where
I think that's probably how it works.
If you're silenced or disabled, you lose stealth. I think we can assume that, but maybe that ends up being wrong. But I think we're just going to have to live with that for now. It doesn't change a lot, but it just obviously makes it quite a bit. It makes it stronger, obviously, if you keep it through those, and weaker if you don't, as an effect, obviously. And then also sites can have wards, so that's interesting that presumably a warded site of your own is going to survive your own roots. Or wrong?
Yep.
No,
it does,
says from your opponent. So your own roots will destroy your own site.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Hang on, no. So it says destroyed, comma, or targeted by a spell or special ability from your opponent. So I think if it would stop your own damage or destruction effects, but you can still target it without breaking your wards, is what I think the way this wording is what they're intending.
So it's potentially, because you could definitely Yeah, I believe so too, based on this wording. Rereading it, it certainly, if it was intended to work the other way, as in it would, your own stuff would be basically, if it was warded, it would be destroyed. It's kind of, because your stuff could survive your own poison nova and stuff, right, as well.
Yeah.
It certainly could have been worded very differently and way more clearly if your own stuff is supposed to be killed by your own effects. Pretty much. I think it's just really saying that you can still target your own stuff
with
your own spells, because presumably they're going to be doing positive things and you don't want to block that. So I think it's...
I think that's what they were going for too.
So it obviously, in the case of warding sites, with some, whether it's roots or maybe there's some new effect that, either, that blows up sort of sites in an area, and this could potentially be pretty good for that. Certainly seems like it's going to be pretty decent with roots. Whether roots has a place in the meta or not is another thing, but that feels pretty good if you could just have an extra side or two to survive.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
That feels
red rocks basically.
Yeah, it feels pretty good.
Or even just ward as a mechanic in general would be very good with roots, because you can ward your units, right?
Survive as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially if they were, somewhere towards their avatar, you could potentially pop a roots and your minion lives, and then just smack your avatar on the same turn and actually have like a real clock very quickly.
Obviously, it's pretty difficult to build a consistent roots deck with 30 sites as well.
Who knows? Maybe there's another leprechaun land surveyor type minion.
Maybe. I mean, this feels like it might be enough for it to at least exist again in the meta, even if it's not a sort of S tier deck, but just a whatever, B tier deck potentially.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe that's, I'm not.
It doesn't have to be like exclusively roots, right? It can be any kind of sweeper effect, of minions, specifically, right? Like potentially remove all your opponent's blockers and keep your stuff alive, things like that. So similar, line of thinking, but there's quite a few ways to apply it.
So yeah, in principle, it seems like a pretty strong effect that if your opponent is playing them or you're playing them, if one player is playing them and the other player isn't really got anything in their deck that actually is sort of got wards in mind, let's say, it could be ridiculously good against a deck that's just not built to deal with them at all.
Yeah, a deck without like deserts and tokens and things like that is going to have a hard time dealing with a water deck, would be my initial thoughts on it, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if every ward is like absorbing, 5 damage from a phalanx or something, like,
yeah, or like stopping a swap, or all sorts of things.
So yeah, I mean,
but on the flip side of that, you could just be playing a ward deck that runs into someone playing 12 deserts, and all of a sudden your deck doesn't do anything.
Yep. Yeah, I wonder if it's an Yeah, obviously, if if wards are popular, then I guess deserts or all these types of effects. I mean, deserts are a very good answer there, right? Because it's sort of very free if you want the fire thresholds. Interesting.
They're also pretty bad against like the skeleton token spam from like all the cards that generate multiple 1 power units over 1 card.
Yeah. Yep. So,
and certainly like missile effects, right? Like they're pretty weak to that as well. But it also, if say the minions that have ward, it doesn't cost them anything in their power budget to have the ward, then they're all probably going to be pretty good. But if that, if say ward is a significant portion of their power budget, right, where a minion has to be smaller to have ward for its cost as opposed to something else, then it might also, the power level of the cards might come down quite a lot, and then all of a sudden all the evil minions that can't have it are just strictly better, and the wards aren't relevant enough to be worth building into. It's also a concern. But as far as a mechanic, just straight up, it's good.
Yeah, my brain is just wandering as well because I'm sure there's going to be stuff that's possible as well, just within your own deck, like warding your own stuff against your own effects. Stuff's going to be possible there.
Yeah,
Other than just roots, I think there will be more possibilities than just that are actually potentially pretty good. Just nothing's immediately coming to mind. That's all. But I can't help but to think there's got to be something else that's possible there. It's going to be pretty good. And also, obviously, there may be some cards in Gothic that work really well with this. I'm kind of curious because there is a sacrifice concept of sacrificing. I wonder what
it wouldn't stop you from sacrificing. I don't think, because sacrifice isn't the same as destroyed.
Okay.
I don't think it would interact with sacrifice.
Alrighty. Move on.
I think so.
So I'll talk about some cards that interact with this, and I guess we'll start with the easy one.
I suppose Holy Warrior is a perfect example of what I was just saying about the power budget, right? Like, if you compare this to a boss troll, that's just 2 for 3 without ward. It's clearly the ward is costing you a power in this situation.
Yeah. So, for the benefit of those listening or not watching, just quickly read what it does. So it's Holy Warrior. It costs the same as a boss troll. So it's 1 Earth threshold. It costs 2 mana, and it's 2 power, and it's ordinary, mortal, and it has ward. So as Jarrod said, same as boss troll. Well, other than it has 1 less power and it has ward, but it's also, I guess, a mortal instead of a whatever the boss troll is. Is it a troll?
I think it's a troll.
Yeah. The fact that it's mortal could be obviously have some either premium value or some opposite of premium value, be of some detriment. But that is a cost though, a whole power for the ward.
Yep. And whether or not 1 power is worth 1 ward is up to be seen, I suppose. I mean, boss troll is not exactly massively played either, right? So
no,
cutting power off could be pretty impactful. There are some cards that spend wards. I think we've seen like one. Holy Nova is another one. I think it might even be in this article. But like, so maybe there's like you want a certain number of wards, just so you can spend them in however many other ways that are even come in or whatever. So maybe in those scenarios you want something that's cheap that has ward. So it could even just be an upside. You're more than willing to give up that power to have like a cheap ward that you can spend as like an additional cost potentially.
Yep, and maybe it's just in a roots deck as well. Maybe it's better than boss troll because it will just survive the roots if it has the ward still. Maybe it isn't.
Yep, but it might be such a massive sacrifice throughout the early game that ward. I mean, this is pretty good against Violent and stuff, but boss troll's already doing that. But not sure. I think it's probably weaker in general than a boss troll, but hard to say for sure.
And presumably just decently solid without seeing the set as a whole, but I don't know, presumably this is playable and limited as well.
I have a feeling all the stuff with ward will be pretty strong and limited just in general, because you're not going to have like easy access to deserts and things like that. And if you're not the person who has all the like the spam token skeleton stuff, you're just going to be in a good situation where it probably just is, trading into something else of equal size for free.
Yeah. So, yeah, but whatever, fine. Right, so ordinary, it's maybe the fact that we're saying that boss troll is probably better for most constructed decks, whilst at the same time boss troll is basically not in any constructed decks.
Yeah.
It probably means that this is not going to see much constructed play, but it's probably right. It's probably on the on the fringes. I mean, for us, the boss troll, we never really ended up making decks, but it certainly was like on the list, so to speak. That there are decks where it was one of the final cards to sort of not make it. So it's like it was right on the fringes of constructor playable. It was obviously playable boss troll, right? But it just, for whatever reason, it didn't have a place in it didn't really have a deck that it was well suited to, I guess.
I suppose there's another card that this should be compared to, and that's a Kettletop Leprechaun, right? Same size, same power.
Yeah.
Comes out at the same time, and you're trading off ward for drawing a sight when it dies. Definitely would rather draw a sight when it dies than have a ward.
Yeah. And that's probably one of the big...
Pretty much every case I could think of.
Yeah, and obviously Boss Troll is competing with Leprechaun as well, for all the same reasons. And that might be one reason why Boss Troll didn't quite end up making any decks, just because it's competing directly against Leprechaun, which is probably just a straight up better card for nearly every deck.
Yeah, I think most people were just willing to trade off that one power for card advantage effectively. So
yeah, probably doesn't have much of a place in constructed, but maybe there's a deck that it does. Sure, but fine. It's. I think it's going to be right on the fringes, but
yeah, right on the fringe. But maybe there's a Mortal Synergy deck that just needs something in that slot that is, has more survivability, right? So that you're pretty much guaranteed to try and untap with a Mortal for the next turn.
But I mean, I'm all as a concept though. Like, I think the idea that there's cards that are on the fringes of constructor playable whilst being, decently solid and limited. For ordinary cards as a concept, like that's fine.
Yeah, for sure. I think basically that fits for all rarities except maybe unique. I'm pretty happy for that to be the case.
Guardian Angel, it costs 4. It's double Earth Threshold. It's 3 power. It's an exceptional angel. It has Airborne, and it has Genesis. Fly to a weaker allied minion to ward it.
I think straight away this card, for me, even without the ward part of it, it's like you don't get very many Earth Airborne units, right? So maybe that's like a place it's got some interesting design to it. But the ward part could be pretty good. Protecting like very high value smaller units like like Nelly and kobolds, things like that, potentially pretty interesting.
Yep. I mean, it is, again, I think in limited, fine. I mean, if you're on an element, you never, like, if the double Earth isn't a major
strong
issue for your deck, and even if it's a bit of an issue, you're going to play it. It's fine in limited, right? Just really solid, really good.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think there's much to...
I guess this is like incredible and limited, right? And I think you're more than happy to pay one more mana most of the time. I think
so, yeah. I mean, even if you're in a deck where it's like tri-element, like, even if you potentially have to wait till you have 6 sites to be able to play this, there's a good chance it's still in your deck anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's just fine and limited, but definitely playable. Like, it's highly playable in limited.
I mean, the fact that it flies to the unit as well and gives it warders, like, makes it very, very hard to kill that unit, right? Because it also sets itself up as a blocker for that unit while also giving the other one ward. So,
I mean, having very good. I mean, having to do everything sort of efficiently and on curve and limited is generally less important than constructed. Like, raw power is pretty important and limited as well. And this is somewhat versatile as well with what it does. And yeah, I just think this is potentially first pickable and limited, I imagine.
Yeah, it would definitely depend on like what the rest of the set looks like, but it's going to be a very high pick, exceptional card, I think, for sure.
But in constructed, you have the issue that, I mean, like you said, Earth doesn't have a lot of good options that are airborne. But I'm not still sure that that's gonna. I'm not sure this is going to see a lot of play in constructed unless you're very specifically want that Genesis out of it for something very specific.
You definitely specifically want to be able to try and give like a smaller unit ward in general. Just like you're not going to have a lot of units in your deck that are very specifically like small that need to survive. Whether or not that's even, a thing that happens, but that's sort of the home I see this lining up for.
Yeah. I mean, it's very difficult to sort of pay for in constructed. I mean, it's just there's a lot of good cards that are going to be in the game, pretty much. And even ignoring Gothic, I'm just trying to think like Withering Hero. I know it's air, but like that was obviously playable, but it didn't see a lot of play. Withering Hero, and it's 4 power airborne. Like, so
I think you more compare this to Clamor of Harpies, though. I think in general, fairly similar. Like this is obviously like what they're aiming for. It's like like a reverse style of Clamor of Harpies. And I'd say Harpy probably better, but
yeah, and that also didn't see a lot of play, and that's also only one fire threshold as well.
Yeah.
So I think,
but Earth doesn't have access to airborne. Like
no, it doesn't.
Does fire have it?
But that
fire
normally
really
just means that you don't play airborne because it doesn't have access to airborne.
Yeah.
I don't think this will see much constructed play.
Well, I don't think so either. But there might be some fringe scenarios where it's like you do end up having a deck that just has 3 of them because you just really want that effect.
Yep. Yeah, it's all gonna. Yeah, it's mostly just around the. You want for the Genesis, like you're specifically building around it. There's
also potentially interactions with the ability to play a minion that moves straight away, like with other cards that, like when something moves. If there's cards like that come out in the next set, I can't think of any that really exist at the moment, but yeah, it could be some interesting things. Like have it come into play if it comes in, triggers something, and then moves straight away and triggers something on, entering locations or things like that is potentially interesting. So if not now, potentially down the line, they make a card like that.
Yep, but potentially it's on the... Yeah, I guess maybe in Constructed it's in a... it's probably on the fringes for sure, at best.
Yep.
I think it's fringe playable, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's not like a bomb in limited, but it's potentially first pickable. Like it's certainly generally going to go on the first few picks in a pack. I would have thought it's pretty.
I think so.
Pretty good. And like you said, like Earth doesn't have a lot of airborne, so I've certainly seen people building deck lists that have Wyvern saw a bit of play, but generally the decks that are trying to put the airborne Earth stuff, like generally those decks were not that good. Just because the thing is just quite a bit. Yeah, I don't know. It's just because you're basically paying 4 mana for something with 3 power, which is behind curve, and the effect for most decks is just not going to be worth it for nearly all decks. So it does allow you to instantly move onto one of their sites.
Yep.
Like the move somehow potentially matters. Just not sure off the top of my head anything that it actually does matter for.
I just thought of a very fringe scenario that it actually matters for. It's if you have a unit that has less power that is carrying a horn to give it charge. So you move to their side of the board with the horn, and then you fly to that minion, and then you have an airborne way with a charged minion to attack basically anywhere near that thing. So potentially it's got like a really weird Death's Door scenario that you might not have been able to get the win another way.
Yeah,
there's a use. All of it.
Yeah, and I've got some questions. Just like if you play it under Crusade, can you fly to a 3 power minion that isn't under Crusade toward it?
I was trying to think of Crusade scenarios earlier, and so it would be weaker when you target for the fly, and I don't know if the minion has to be weaker to finish the ward effect. So it might work. So you might be able to play this under a Crusade and Ward a 3-power unit. I think.
Because that 3-power, there's certainly a lot more stuff that, like Morgana, and there's more stuff that matters at that. Obviously, there's if you can extend the important units range a bit more, because it isn't just Crusade, right? There's other effects that can give +1 power when you immediate, like Bannerman or whatever. So there's ways to potentially get it up to. It isn't just one card in the game that can do it. So if you had, it still feels pretty fringe. To move on. So Blessed Village, an ordinary site, and it provides an Earth threshold, and it just has ward. So presumably it just wards itself.
I think so. Just comes in with a ward token would be my assumption.
So I guess it's a bit like, I don't know. I mean, again, you're saying potentially the ward token outside of its effect maybe matters as like as a way to sort of have synergy with the other cards or part of the cost. Obviously, it's very good with roots, because it would survive the roots. But outside of decks doing anything specific with it, I guess it's just in that whatever against a village or against a Holy Ground or something. That type of effect.
Yeah, it sort of feels like it's trying to be a you can't attack me site, those sort of things. Because you only get one activation for it basically, so it's certainly a poor man's version of any one of those sites.
I just had a thought. I'm just going to go back to read the ward. Oh, targeted by a spell. So yeah, if you attack it and you target it for attack, it doesn't break it just from simply attacking it. You actually have to hit it.
Yeah, the damage would have to go through from hitting the site.
Yeah,
to break the ward.
Because attacking isn't a special ability. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a basic ability.
So, I think the way this card is only ever going to see play is for the cost of like paying for something extra with a ward, or like things that need wards. I think it's in the card, like it's one of the next cards down. It's gets like more power if it has a ward near it. So it's definitely just going to have to be for things that want those sort of interactions. Just spending the ward, because I think as far as preventing damage to a site, this is very meaningless in almost all cases. Like they can just attack a different site, or they just hit it once and then it's no more ward for the rest of the game, and then it's just a generic what is it, village, the limited one just turns into that.
It's should be able to remember this by now. Valley, I think it's Valley.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Obviously, it's probably pretty good in a roots deck still, though.
I don't even know if you would play it, right? I mean, maybe you would, and just like play it sort of as like a couple of extra bedrocks, but you have to play them super far out of the way.
Yep.
So because you really don't want to lose the ward on them in that case.
Nope.
So you probably, and maybe there's just enough there's so many sites that would be doing things to get you towards the roots, more importantly, or buying you time to get to the roots, that you might not even be in a situation that you do get to play these. But maybe you do.
Yep, maybe. Then maybe there's a place. In a roots deck, obviously you can play them, like you said, out. Like it sort of does double up a little bit, potentially, like synergistically, with either being out of the way where they don't get hit, or being somewhere where they do get hit and potentially buying you a bit of time, potentially, right? Like,
yeah.
And they're obviously not as good as Bedrock, but you can also only play 3 Bedrocks.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there would be plenty of roots decks if they could play 4, they would have played 4.
It's sort of like that fringe, not fringe, like the, it's a flexibility. It could be a holy ground, it could be a bedrock. But I think on average, you're probably expecting this to be less hit health than a holy ground. But there's certainly going to be situations where it's more.
Yeah, I can't see this being played in a deck that you're effectively either like we're saying with the roots deck, or you're using it like you're using the ward yourself for stuff.
Yeah,
and roots is as well, right? Like you're basically blowing up your own ward with roots. So like, I can't really see this being played in a deck in constructed that you're not using the ward for yourself, so to speak. You don't have the potential to like synergize with it, but that's fine. And in limited, presumably it's just better than a Valley, straight up. So
yeah. I mean, it's probably not one of the like you wouldn't take this anywhere near as high as you would take a Foot Soldier Village. All of those are way better than this card in limited for sure. But it's it's not like it's a last pick or anything. It's certainly playable, and it feels like Earth is probably going to be the element that is spending all the wards in general. So you probably it's potential you do actually want to end up taking these at somewhere in the mid picks, just so that you have the spenders. Like, I mean, if you have the spenders for sure, you definitely want some amount of these.
Yep. Cool. Night Watchman, 3 mana and 1 Earth Threshold, and it has 3 power. It's Ordinary Mortals, and it has Genesis ward this site. I'm very happy to see that it's 1 Earth Threshold. It feels like there's a lot of cards like this similar in Arthurian Legends, and they all have double thresholds.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think for limited play, it's very good that this is a single threshold.
Yep. I mean, I suppose this guy falls into that boss troll category as well, right? Where instead of paying the 1 power, you're paying the 1 mana, and it's toward the site.
So... Yeah, and then he's competing with, I don't know, especially in Earth, 10 other cards? Something?
Yeah,
10 other
like
3 mana,
definitely not better than a Unicorn.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, obviously it's Unicorn, but it's like there's probably 10 other ones that are 3 mana, 3 power. There's a lot. Like, there's the Crossbowman, the Longbowman, the Cave Trolls.
Yeah, the Blue Cap Knockers.
Yeah, I don't know if there's 10. Maybe that's I won't look them all up, but there's certainly quite a few. There's all the ones that never even seen a play. There's a Templar, Syrian Templar. There's
There's a lot. Let's put it that way.
The pigs are the Sonder? No.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, the piggies.
There's a lot. So it's competing with all of those. I'm not sure if it's going to compete with all of those in constructed outs. Well, you're going to specifically want the Genesis, like that specific Genesis. Right?
Yeah, so I pulled up the list. It is exactly... so it's Albaspine Pikeman, the Longbowman, the Knockers, the Cave Trolls, the Crown Prince, the Moon Song Dragon. That's air.
Oh, that's double element.
Yeah,
sure.
but then it's pigs, Syrian Templar, and then the other Crossbowman. But also, it sort of competes with the Knights as well. But yeah, but they're also the extra colors. But so yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, and then 3 others that have another element for exactly 3 power, 3 cost.
Yeah, okay. So it's the same list that if you're saying just Earth, it's the same list that we said, except also the Pikemen, which we didn't say, and also the Crown Prince. So, and the Crown Prince is unique, so maybe that is, isn't exactly being directly compared. And even the Crown Prince sort of is pretty decent power level wise, and barely saw any constructed play.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Yeah. So basically, all the ones in this list, like Cave Trolls, Caesar, like a little bit of common sense target. That's about it. And then the Longbowman every now and then in certain metas in Avatar of Air. That's about it.
Yeah, and and maybe Crown Prince is playable in some decks as well.
Yep,
being constructed. And the Cave
Trolls...
they're
definitely pushing a mortal theme in this set. So,
yeah, I mean, the Cave Trolls, like you said, there was also a common sense target, which, I mean, and mostly that's to deal with Root Spider pretty much, right? It's more like a Root Spider answer more than anything. So, I don't know. Yep. In Constructed, it just feels like it isn't, like, better than all those other cards.
I mean, maybe it still falls in that same Roots deck, though, right? Like, maybe it's just a card that buys some time, potentially wards a site to set up for a Roots later on. That's about it, though. Yeah. But outside of that, this guy's got no shot, I don't think.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, you're going to have to be pretty desperate for wards to want to play this guy, I think.
I mean, with roots, you can play the roots and play this and pop the roots to save an extra site. Not sure you care too much about that versus... Maybe you do, though. Maybe you do. Situationally. May not be terrible. Because you end up with board states with roots where you don't always get to put a bedrock in front of your starting site. You know, because you didn't have one in your opening hand. And then your bedrock, if you even have a bedrock at all, is way out to the side somewhere. This allows you to basically ward the site in front of your starting site, play roots, blow it up, and then also play a minion after you've blown up roots on the side in front of your starting site. If you had like 7 or 8 mana, you could do both, and also you get an extra threshold to help cast a minion post roots as well.
So it also opens up some interesting things you can do with Earthquake, where once you Earthquake at some point, you have your site closer to their side of the board, and then you can ward that when you pop the roots as well. So potentially you have like a site, because you can't move bedrocks around, right, to get the lockdowns with the roots, whereas this opens up potential for that.
Yep. I guess it's interesting that nearly everything we're talking about is with interactions with roots. I wonder if that was the intention of this ward mechanic or not. But pretty interesting.
Don't know, but it definitely just seems like the thing that jumps out with this mechanic in general,
especially with the cards they're showing.
Revealed. Yeah, mostly just because of the cards that are revealed. I think.
None of them are basically playable outside of such a deck. That's the thing in Constructed.
Yeah.
And again, this is just solid and limited. One big reason is because it only has a single Earth threshold. It makes it way more playable. Like those blue cap knockers. They were barely played. Like they were very difficult to fit into decks. Whereas if they were a single Earth threshold, they would have been played loads. So
I'm pretty sure I played more goons over the last year than I have blue cap knockers.
Yeah,
and it's not because I wanted to play
so much. Because something that's all vanilla like this, effectively, right? Like I know it's not vanilla, but it's pretty close and limited. Like if you've got something that's like 3 for 3, but doesn't really do much else, in limited that can be pretty fine if you can play it on turn 3.
Yep.
But if you have it in your starting hand and you can't play it till you have 5 mana because you need the double threshold, and that's when you get it, and that's on like turn 7 and it's been sitting in your hand your whole time, that's terrible. Basically,
it needs to actually have a good effect at that point.
And this effect isn't that good, but it is good enough for a single Earth threshold. So that's why I was saying I'm really happy with that, because I think it'll just be like this will clearly be played in limited sometimes.
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, it's like Ogre Goons is extremely playable in limited, and this is just upgraded Goons. So, it's a Goons that does more than literally nothing. Even if it's not like huge, it's still more than nothing.
But yeah, tall asking for a lot of these in Constructed though. They're just...
Oh, absolutely.
I think this one here is... I can see the village being... this one out of all of them is the one that I see like the least likely to have a home in Constructed. And they're all... But maybe it's still on the fringes. I think they're all on the fringes. Or potentially there's some deck that probably involves the roots where they're potentially playable. Right, Holy Nova. It's a magic, an exceptional magic. It costs 4 and requires double Earth threshold. So it says, deal damage to each enemy at affected locations. You may break an allied ward to center this spell on that location instead of the casters. So it can either be centered around the spellcaster or around a ward, but you have to break the ward. And then it only damages enemies, which is important because a lot of these nuke effects in a grid type thing hit everything, right? Not just enemies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's important. The grid is basically 3 damage to everything. 3 damage to enemies where you are in the same location where you are. 2 to the ones that are adjacent, and 1 to the diagonal ones that are nearby. So it's
a grid of 9.
So it's just, what did you say? Sorry.
So it's a grid of 9,
Yeah,
basically,
yeah,
for
yeah.
listening.
Grid of 9, 3 where you are, 2 adjacent, 1 on the diagonals. So, I mean, clearly this is playable in limited. Clearly,
Yeah, for sure.
it's obviously
I
playable
think
in
there's a
limited.
good
This type
chance
of
it's playable
effect.
and constructed too. Depending, because this is one of those ward spenders that I was talking about, effectively. So if you have, something, good movement that has a ward, you can get off some probably pretty good ones. It also depends on, I think the power of this or the playability of this will depend on how popular necromancer decks are, or generic token spam in general, because it's really good at dealing with that sort of stuff. Because the total damage probably doesn't matter too much versus just the ability to just sweep. Because obviously it's it's cheaper than Poison Nova. It's potentially better in some scenarios than Poison Nova, because if all you're doing is clearing up tokens and you have a fatty unit that has a ward on it, it just removes all the potential blockers and then lets the unit get through for quite a bit. But yeah, you're obviously not killing much that's big with it, but that's not what it's intended to do. The fact that it can break the ward to kill on death's door is probably pretty important. Or even just, not that hard to get up and close to be able to kill someone on death's door with it either. I think in that scenario, it's probably... Because it's not like Earth has a lot of, clean ways to kill people on death's door either. So in that scenario, it's pretty solid. It's a lot cheaper than Crater Eyes for doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's probably, I mean, it's, what is it? Stone Rain? It's the same cost, right? Stone Rain, maybe Stone Rain. Does it have double threshold or one? Can't remember.
Double.
Double, so same cost. And obviously this is a lot better for, tokens, killing tokens. And
Yep.
it has
It's also,
the same Death Door range as Stone Rain, right? Effectively? No, it doesn't. It's a bit less.
No. But Stone Rain has outside of the killing on death door, has pretty big, additional cost of needing to hold sites, right?
Yep.
To be able to get in any kind of real damage. So they're probably doing pretty similar amounts of damage, and the ability to clear on multiple different sites when you're doing small amounts of damage is much better than, a single site sort of thing. So,
yep. I mean, Stone Rain was barely played as well in Constructed.
yeah. Yep.
So,
I think this will see some play for sure. I think this is the first card on this list so far that's actually got a reasonable chance of seeing play.
yep.
It'll just completely depend on the meta. I mean, it's probably a very good toolbox card, or whichever one, the one that is that gets exceptionals. Silver Bullet, I think.
Yeah, you do have to. Yeah, I think it's Silver Bullet, and yet the one where you have to tap to get it. I think.
Yeah.
Which is a bit potentially awkward if you have to tap to get it, but you also want to tap to move to get
But
it.
you get it into your hand, right? You don't have to cast it straight away with Silver Bullet. Is that how that one works? I can't remember. It's been so long.
I don't remember either. You might have to look it up.
A few moments later.
Almost there. There it is. Tap, sacrifice Silver Bullet. Yeah, you can cast it from your collection. Yeah, okay. So you do have to cast it as soon as you get it. You don't get to just put it in your hand. Yeah. But still, it's, potentially this is the sort of card you want to be Silver Bulleting for anyway. If it's not if Necromancer's not super meta. But if it's super meta, then you probably plan 2 or 3 of these in most Earth decks. There's a good chance. Because even if you don't move, right, and you just have your starting 6, you just take that box at the start, it hits everything from where you're standing for clearing up tokens on your side of the board, so pretty good in that case. It's going to be pretty nice at clearing up guards and things like that as well, potentially, so... But there's a probably pretty low chance that's going to see any more play after this set comes out, because see you later, Archmego.
Yeah, I think in limited it's just good.
Yeah, I think it's super solid.
the double Earth threshold doesn't, for all the reasons that it matters for the whatever the other thing was, the Night Watchman. This you just totally don't have to cast it on curve. Like it's totally fine if you. This can, you know, if it take, you have to wait till you have 5 or 6 sites potentially till you have the double Earth. It can still be good in that situation.
Yep.
This type of thing. So it's not like some kind of situation where if you don't have the double Earth by the time you have 4 mana, it's really bad. Like that's not true at all for this. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, not a powerhouse or anything, but definitely solid enough to see a decent amount of play.
You should probably end up being able to pick these up beyond the sort of second or third pick. I think these will go lower than that quite often.
Yeah, I think so too.
So, not sure. Like it just feels very playable and limited, but obviously it's. I'm not quite sure what the token situation will be in limited. Like,
well, realistically, I think there's going to be a few, right? Because I've seen a decent amount of like ordinary or exceptional thing, like that does make a lot of skeletons, basically. So against that deck, and because I think a lot of wards is going to be in Earth in general, you're probably going to want a good way to clean up tokens to keep your wards around for the more impactful things as it is. So I think it's probably going to be a decent pick, I think. But again, if you're playing against like a deck that's not that, it's probably going to be a lot weaker.
I think it's just like a fine sort of card. Should see at least some constructed play. Be fine limited. I think it's in a good spot probably overall. Like it's very difficult to see a world where this is overpowered as well. Like it's just in a good spot, I think, where you want. It's a type of card where you just sort of want a big chunk of the cards to land design-wise, I think, where they have a place in limited and they have a place in constructed, and that place isn't a, sort of like in too many decks type of thing.
Yeah, it's not like an auto-include in every deck that's playing Earth. It's just like a solid option for if you need an answer for that question.
I think it's just a really well designed card, and also quite like the extra bit where you can break the ward. It's just like extra flexibility. That's good.
I think that's a big part that pushes this card into playability.
Yep.
Realistically.
Yeah, I just mean it's just a really well, like, designed card.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. Just power level wise combined with just interest. Like, it's one of those ones where it just... even just in limited, right? It's like all of a sudden the juices are flowing if you can... Because you might have the Night Watchman, right? That's totally playable, and then it's like all of a sudden it's potentially like actually a very significant decision exactly which site you're going to ward. Like,
yeah, I mean, the same can be said even with Blessed Village, right? Like,
yeah, where you play it like that stuff, all that. Having all that just matter more, like,
yeah,
you may not even have the Holy Nova, but you know that you drafted 2 in your deck, so there's a pretty good chance you might draw one in the coming turns as well. Like, it just... I don't know, for me it's just one of those things, it's like an extra little thing that you can factor in all your decision making that's gonna, for the type of person who's thinking about all that stuff, it increases their win rate by whatever, right? Half of a percent or 1% or whatever it is. And it's like, it's all those little things that when you're doing all of those little things, the win rate shifts by some very meaningful amount all of a sudden as well. So I quite like, I don't know, I like it. Like it, just like the card. Like, yeah. Cool. Move on, or?
Yeah.
Is it Revered Revenant?
Yep.
Alright, I think that's how you say it. So, cost 1 mana. It's a single Earth Threshold. It's 3 power, so it's better than a Boss Troll in that it's same power but costs 1 less. 3 for 1, that's a pretty big deal. That's in what? Sedge Crab? Is that it? What else costs 1 and then has 3 power that we're comparing this to? Don't think there's a lot. Try and think of more. So it's Ordinary Spirit, and it has 0 power unless adjacent to an allied ward. So it's either 3 or 0.
Not sure if you cut out for me there, but I didn't hear you talk for a while. But
It would have. I think
either
it just the
way,
internet cut out to you, so I think it's
yeah,
going to have recorded fine. So all I've done is I've just described what the card does. That's it.
yeah. So I was interestingly, it's the first not immortal, I think, on this post. So it's a spirit.
Yeah.
A spirit's not evil, right?
No.
Well, clearly not.
They're not, but the templating for all the old stuff, like exorcism and that type of thing, it was spirits, undeads, and demons, and now it's
monsters,
undead, and demons. So basically, it's like spirits used to sort of be evil, but now they're no longer evil, and instead monsters didn't used to be evil, but now they are, type of thing. So, like the Syrian Templar, for example, has the same templating.
Yep.
For not taking the damage from the spirits, and I think also the Arthurian Legends one, Sir Galahad, I think has that templating as well of spirits. But anyway, it's not evil in this set.
Yep. Yeah. So but overall, I think so. It's I'm still unsure if because obviously paying 1 for 3, pretty good. But the way the the early games play out, being big for like that cheap doesn't often matter too much unless you draw them in multiples, right? So there needs to be a certain number of one cost really big things with a potential drawback that you need to work around for them to matter, I think, realistically. Just with how the sites play out and things like that, you generally don't generate heaps of pressure early unless you're playing multiples of them. Like say, your 3 cards that you draw for your start, you have 3 1-drops that you can then pretend move up and put on a lot of pressure on that first turn that you can attack. Otherwise, you can just play, like your boss trolls and things like that if you're not putting out heaps of extra pressure. I do think this drawback is probably going to be one of the ones that are maybe a little bit easier to navigate around. Like if you were playing this in your deck, you'd have to be playing the site that is just warded, things like that. Maybe you even play that 2-drop with ward, things like that.
Holy Warrior.
Holy Warrior.
The deck that's coming to mind for me is just a Sorcerer deck that just wants to jam out
for sure
2 of these, like maybe boss trolls in that deck as well, right? Like it's just jamming out. You go to 3
mana. There's a pretty good chance you wouldn't be able to play a boss troll, right? Because you'd have to play that Night Ward if you're playing something like this. Not the Night Ward. What's it called? Holy Warrior.
Holy Warrior. Yeah, you're playing.
Yeah.
Well, I assume you're playing both. Like you're playing a deck that, like you're saying, like you're just putting out loads of pressure early.
Yep.
So whatever it is, however you potentially go to 3 sites, maybe 4, and then you're just basically pumping out sort of 2 minions a turn that are whatever boss trolls or these revenants or the holy warriors or whatever else it may be, right? So or not sure what's in that deck exactly, but the difference basically being that you can potentially put a lot of pressure on, right? Like sustained pressure. So, and I think the sustained part is going to be important because as long as the pressure that you're putting on is sustained, it's going to be hard for them to kill your wards on your sites, especially.
Yep.
So, like, I think having enough, like a sufficient amount of pressure is going to be really important for the Revenants to not become 0 power. But on the face of it though, like, it's an awesome card for Sorcerer because it only costs 1 mana, so you can sort of always, like, you can easily fit it into a turn with another card. And fitting in a 3-powered unit as an extra thing onto whatever else you're doing every turn is, like, pretty good.
Although this card is even worse into deserts as well, because if you were if you played this down onto the ward site and you had them both on the same site, one desert would actually kill both. Oh, actually, no.
The desert doesn't hit the summon.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
So I think those ward sites are really important in a deck like this.
Oh, for sure. But also in a deck like that, if you're only going to 3 to 4 sites, it's you're probably not going to reliably have it either, which is potentially a problem for a deck like that.
Yep.
I mean, this is obviously going to be pretty good in a like a savior deck, which is this is the avatar for it, which we'll talk about later. But it's pretty easy to keep that around. Always have a ward chilling.
And like maybe it does have a place specifically because you can always have the ward, but obviously if your turn later in the game is to just it's not a how do you say, like it's the mana saving isn't as important as it is in Sorcerer. So, but maybe that's it's just a different deck, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
At that point, so maybe it still works. I think it's I don't know if it'll end up in a good constructed deck or not, but it will certainly be a lot of people trying to make a good one with it. I'm pretty sure.
I just had an interesting thought about it interacting with silence, and there's that new Earth Sight that silences everything around it for the turn. Because if you turn off the tech box, it is just 1 for 3. Yeah. So there's some interesting interactions for that gonna happen with that for sure.
It's only silences, I think, on the Genesis for the turn.
Yeah, it does.
But there potentially are other silence effects as well that are like silence, for example.
This is where it being a spirit is actually a drawback instead of it being the first to not.
I don't think that's an accident. I think that might have been intentional, but like you said, everything else is mortal and this one isn't. I think Bower of Bliss might be the reason why.
Likely.
Moving on.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's too much to say about it. I mean, actually, one thing on that card, I really like the art on this card. It's the first one of the cards that have been in this post that I've actually really liked the art on.
Yeah, I really like it too. Just going back now to check. Yeah. I mean, generally, I like a lot of the art generally, but this is But I like a lot of Brian's art as well. So he's got a couple of my favorite pieces that I really in the whole game. I really like. I know that a lot of people. I really like his Death Dealer art, and I think in many ways the great shame of that piece of art is just that in a way is like competing head on with the Frank Frazetta Death Dealer art, because obviously people are going to naturally compare it, and it's not of all of the artists in this game to be a head-to-head comparison to. It's not exactly the fairest one.
Going up against,
but. Ignoring all of that for a second, I really like the Death Dealer art that he did. There's something.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I also really like his color out of spaces. I really like that one. But this one might actually be my next favorite one from him. To be honest, I really like this one.
We've got a bunch of olders. Yeah, this one. I mean, he's got. Oh, it's not coming up in this one, is it? It's. The other king skeleton, whatever the undead one is.
That's
really good.
Returned King, I think it's called. Was that it? Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's his, right? And that's really good as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that was the one that got revealed at PAX.
Yeah, I really like that as well. I might like the Death Dealer one the best still, but I don't know.
His lightning bolt is damn good too.
Yeah.
Because his is it was Team Covenant.
He's the Team Covenant one, and that's really good and really popular. I think the awesomeness of the art is probably one of the reasons why it's so expensive.
Potentially, for sure. Yeah.
And I don't know. There's the gross poltergeist art is kind of pretty cool as well, but you never really ever notice it because the card's unplayable.
Yeah. Not played,
but the art's pretty cool. Anyway, so
Iceland is great too. Yeah. There's lots of good stuff from Rome,
But very. I like his art style as well. So
he's great to have a chat with too.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, he was at in Australia for the big the Crossroads event here, so we got to.
Crossroads in the PAX weekend. Yep.
Got to speak to him for I don't know, an hour and a half or something like that in the end, must have been. And
Yeah, somewhere.
got, like, between us, 20 altars or something then? So
It's somewhere in that range.
if you check what was the video? We put them up pretty early on.
Throw them up on this video too.
Might have to. Yeah, alright, I'll throw them on this video quickly now so that you don't have to go to the other one rather than doing a shout out to ourselves like we probably should to get more watch time on the videos. But I'll put them here, save everybody the effort. I'll throw them on this video as well right now. Those altars. So, right, moving on. Archangel Michael.
Okay.
Cost 5. Quadruple Earth Threshold. And it has 4 power. And it's a unique angel. It has Airborne, it has Ward, and it has Genesis. Michael takes a step, then strikes all enemies at his location.
So this is going to be really good, but damn, it's not easy to cast. Like, maybe you have to be mono Earth to play this. Maybe, probably.
Yeah, or some sort of like
very heavy Earth.
Yeah,
like
very heavy, where you're like splashing one other element and everything in the other element only has a single threshold.
Yeah, it's pretty good in Avatar of Earth.
Yeah,
you'll probably be able to cover it in there. But yeah, the fact that he gets to kill like stealth units and things like that is going to be very good. And yeah, it's just the fact that it's the step works with the Airborne as well, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's gonna be able to get to most locations on the board fairly easy. Like maybe he can't reach their back row, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's games where he just kills them when they're on their store as well, right? Just like
for sure. Overall, I think this card's pretty cool. And like we were saying with the other card, right? There's very few airborne Earth cards, whereas this is one that's actually probably going to see play.
Oh, it's a really high power level. I can't imagine that there's any deck that will not play this if the thresholds are... Like, there's no mono Earth deck that isn't playing this.
I more meant like it's actually an Earth card with Airborne that can actually see play. Because all the ones that have Airborne don't... Like, they're all just a little bit not quite good enough to see play. Whereas this one, power level is quite high, so... Yeah, really good. But I mean, so realistically, the ward on this card is actually the weakest thing on it. And it's probably going to be nice, but, it makes him extremely hard to kill, right? Ward and Airborne. That's... Because basically you can't really attack it, and now you have to target it with 2 things.
Yep.
So the ward's probably pretty strong on this as well. Ward on evasive creatures will be... Well, minions, I should say. It will be very, very good.
Yeah, and I really like it because just the Genesis is really good as well. Just the fact that you get immediate value out of it. Yep. Like, you basically play it, potentially kill something really significant, maybe multiple things really significant, and then have something that's really difficult to kill and is a real threat because it's, punching for 4 every turn. There's also a chance that wherever you sort of can, like, it's got Airborne, like, it can defend, like, if you're on the back foot, it can potentially defend all of your sites.
Yep. Yeah, like, kill something and then protect from other things as well, like, so it's going to be a big defensive swing as well, if you're on the back foot.
You can potentially, play it, kill their best thing or their best things or whatever, and then kill their next thing on your next turn. Like, there's a lot, potentially there's a world where it's got charge as well, like, it's pretty good. Like, it's just very, very high power level that you would be, in a way, fine. I'm not sure it's really good, but the fact that it's quadruple the threshold, I think it's not, I don't think it's unfair on the face of it, at least thinking compared to some other stuff that doesn't, only has triple. This is in the more like mesmerism type of category, and it's that I think it's in the realms of that type of power level.
I don't know if it's probably not quite as powerful, right? But
probably not, but it's fine. It's not. That's what I'm saying. It's not overpowered or anything. Like, it's really, really, really good, and it's not unfair. It's fine.
Yes. Yep.
And it's a total bomb in limited if you can cast it. And you
Yeah,
probably can't.
if you open this pack 1, you're definitely warping your whole draft to be able to cast this. If you open it in pack 3, you're like, well, I'm not playing Earth. Can I make it work?
Yeah, well.
The answer probably no, but you're probably not
anyway.
passing it.
I mean,
don't
that's
think
the
you're
thing,
letting
right?
anybody
Even
else
if
have
you're
this.
stretching to play 6 of your 12 sites in Earth, there's still every chance you can't cast it anyway. The whole game.
Yeah.
So you really do have to be like, I think minimum 7 Earth sites out of your 12, realistically. So it's going to be
In a deck that's willing to draw quite a few sites. As well.
I mean, you're going to have to commit so hard to. Yeah.
But you probably win every game you cast it.
Yeah. I mean, again, obviously it's one of those ones still really good if you can't cast it on. I don't know, but yeah, it's fine. It's less of a thing in limited anyway because it's unique, right? It'll be so rare that you'll ever have the opportunity anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
When the fact that it's unique makes it a little bit less painful to hate draft as well as a first pick. Because it's got some value, maybe.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's fine. I like it. I think it's fine. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just good.
It's just good. Yeah. Right, so there's nothing else here, but there was 2 other things, right, that we wanted to see. There was the Savior Avatar, which it's the standard 20 life, 1 power, and it has the standard tap, play, or draw a site, and you can pay 1 mana to ward a minion that was summoned this turn. So it doesn't have to be nearby or anything like that. You can play it anywhere. You can pay 1, and you can ward it. It has to be summoned that turn. Presumably, you can. It's a bit fringe, but not ridiculously so. You can do this multiple times in the same turn if you play more than 1 minion.
Yep.
Reading this, so it's a little bit fringe,
it's
but not
probably,
entirely. It's possible, right?
I mean, it's probably pretty reasonable that if you played like a border militia with this card, you'd be able to ward all of them if you were border militiaing like in the mid game, right?
Oh yeah, and they are summoned, I assume, right? So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is going to be quite a strong avatar.
Do villagers summon them as well?
Yes.
Okay, so it's pretty good. I can see this being. I mean, this is quite.
Very good.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm not worried is the word, but it's like I don't know what rarity all these avatars are or not, but there's a lot of them, and it is going to feel pretty sad being the person playing Spellslinger when your opponents are playing Necromancers and Saviors.
I mean, I think it's probably going to be a lot like a beta situation, right? Where there's probably going to be some common ones, some
maybe,
elite,
but unlike beta, a lot of those the ordinary ones.
So hopefully these aren't like the Geomancer level ones.
Yeah,
like, and they're super common. You probably have to play against 1 in each draft, and then the power level is like you just beat a Spellslinger with this.
Well, I mean that's true of every avatar we've seen, right? The power level is quite a bit higher than Spellslinger.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there's this Necromancer and Persecutor, and then there's another one that I'm not sure if it was actually spoiled or if it was from like these people cracking boxes early and doing spoilers that way. So I don't even know if we want to actually talk about it anyway because I'm not sure where the spoiler comes from.
Sure, I guess.
But of the 3 that have been officially spoiled, they are all quite a lot better than Spellslinger. But, they might all be elites or they might be even uniques, right? Because they're all the precon ones. But, because they're precon, they might also be beta. The common-ish ones, right? Like the beta ones.
Yep. Yeah, and unlike beta, this is presumably just perfectly playable, even if half your deck's evil. Pretty much. Maybe not, but unlike the beta ones, like, Geomancer's not that good if you don't have any Earth sites. And the same can kind of be true of all of them, right? Like, you have to be... Yeah,
you really have to be that element.
Yeah, and at least somewhat to do anything, but really quite heavily so, I think, to play it at all, because the Spellslinger is just better if you're not going to play Flame Caller if you've only got like 4 fire minions in the deck or something. You're just going to play Spellslinger. So, I think that's not true of this at all, though. Like, if, you've got 20 minions and 5 of them are evil, you're still going to be cool playing this, I think, over a Spellslinger.
I think, yeah, I'm trying to work out what that number is, right? Like, if you've got, say, somewhere in the 15 to 20 range of minions, I think even if half of them are evil, maybe it's even 60%, you probably still play this. I think it would depend on the spots on the curve, right? If you're all your non-evil stuff, it's a bit hard to get down, and the extra 1 mana, then maybe it's a little bit awkward, but you're probably still playing it. Because this is going to cause your opponent to play in a very suboptimal way a lot of the time as well, I think. Because they have to worry about a watered up defensive unit coming down. They have to think about saving all of their ways to get wards off easy. Even if you play one ward thing a game, it's warped the way they have to play the whole game. Things like that. So a lot of the time, those sort of things are worth more than one spell at the start of the game.
I mean, you can just play a minion, water it, and blow everything up with the roots, right? Keep your minion.
Yeah.
Which is pretty free. I mean, that's why if you're playing Savior, roots in that regard is kind of free. And there are games where if you just, drop some, pick some random massive minion, that if you just...
multiple minions as well in the same turn is very reasonable.
So you don't even need to necessarily, I mean, you probably do in such a deck, but it's you don't even need to have any bedrocks. You don't need you just have the roots. It's just a free include, and if you happen to get it, you happen to get it, and you don't necessarily need any other synergy other than your avatar, which you're guaranteed to always have.
Yeah, it's sort of like when you play a GMN, so you just play roots just because you can, sort of thing. That sort of situation.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and you don't. Yeah, even if you lose all your sites, the fact that you potentially just survive it with 4 some combination of minions or one really big minion or whatever.
Yep.
Not to mention that it's possible you also played a minion in a previous turn that still has ward as well and lost it yet.
Yep, for sure. Yep.
So,
I mean, even without all those things, it's just the ability, because every deck's going to only have so many ways of breaking easy wards, and if every minion you play for the whole game is warded, it's really going to tax all their resources quite quickly. So outside of a necromancer that gets to do it constantly for free, that sort of thing, that's where this avatar's probably going to fall down, right? It's just going to be absolutely terrible against necromancer decks, is a gut feeling. But decks that aren't like that are gonna hate playing against this for sure, and it's going to be pretty strong. So I think it's going to be very much like a meta call. It's probably going to be a meta warping sort of avatar, to be honest. When this becomes good, all of a sudden the stocks of deserts just go through the roof, right? And then it becomes bad again, and then cyclical of becoming good and bad as things move in and out of the meta.
Yeah, definitely just a Savior Necromancer sort of meta thing going on already, sort of thing. Exactly how much each of those get played are going to largely shape big chunks of the meta as a whole, I think, if either of those happen to be popular or both of them happen to be popular. Because building a deck that's good into ward and good into the Necromancer tokens, there is stuff, right, that could be good into both.
Well, that's a deck playing deserts, right?
Yeah, but also that Holy Nova, is good into both as well, right? Those sort of Poison Nova and whatever, so... Yeah, cool.
Poison Nova's not great into a ward deck, because that's pretty expensive to try and chip off wards. But yeah, certainly going to be interesting. And the art on this is awesome as well. This is the Precon alternate art, right? Because it's the one they did in the videos. So I think they're the Precon alternate art ones.
Yeah, I think so. Yep. Yeah, I think they're all by... Oh, maybe not. Are they all by Dead Seagrave? I don't know. Maybe they are.
Definitely the Necromancer in this one. I say definitely. I'm pretty sure.
I think they're all by the same artist, but I could be totally wrong. Cool. Right. Yeah, really like it too. I've got a feeling I'm going to like all 4 of them.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, the Necromancer is definitely Dan. I just looked it up. The Precursor, I mean, they probably look pretty similar, right? So I think they probably all are.
Cool. Anything more to say on this one?
Um, Not popping to mind, but yeah, overall, I think it's going to be pretty damn good, and we'll definitely see play.
Yep. Yeah, I think I'm not as concerned, but I really like limited. So my main concern with at the moment that I've just, which may not be an issue, maybe you're not, no idea, but if you're going to play an 8-player draft and you're the only person playing Spellslinger, or there's 1 or 2 people playing Spellslinger and 6 other people have these type of avatars like this, it's going to feel pretty rough.
I don't think that'll be the case. I think it'll be like if you did a triple beta draft, right? I think it's going to be more in that vein of like the beta avatars, and now like.
Well, we'll see. Like if this is ordinary, this is way more playable for most decks than the. I think it depends.
Yeah, but if you're comparing it to Sorcerer, right? Where instead of having one Sorcerer, you can
somebody gets.
No. So I'll finish my point. So if you have like Sorcerer, right, where it's say all 4 of the beta avatars and then Sorcerer were all just Sorcerer, and you had like 2 or 3 of the people in the draft having Sorcerer, it might be similar to this situation.
Yeah, but that's exactly the situation I'm afraid of, because that would be pretty. That would be pretty unfun if every time you played a draft that a few people on the table had Sorcerer and everybody else had Spellslinger. And that's sort of I think there's a chance that that's basically the reality, and that's going to feel pretty.
Sure, could be
pretty rough. But whatever. I'm not going to prejudge that. It's just in my back of my mind. We'll have to see what actually happens in practice, which I guess we'll get to pretty soon. So I'm not like it. For all we know, all of them are sort of unique rarity. For all we know, right? Like we just don't.
Yeah.
You just don't know. I assume they're not, but who knows? Well, I have no idea. Also, there's never been an exceptional rarity avatar. It's possible that this is the first set that has them as well. So, move on.
Oh.
Right. So there was one more card we wanted to cover. It's Enduring Faith. It's an exceptional magic. It costs 2. It has a single Earth Threshold. It says ward an allied minion. Until your next turn, it takes damage for its nearby allies instead. So presumably this is the first damage will get rid of the ward, and then the subsequent damage, it'll still get dealt to it as well.
Yeah.
If there's some effect that was like...
No, I think it'll be the first source of damage will remove the ward. I don't think it's like 1 damage removes it and then it takes 4. Like say like a pack of flat.
Sorry, the first source, yeah. But it's going to keep taking damage after it's lost its ward. If it's the case that they poisoned Nobit or something and you had 9 units that all got dealt 1 damage each, does this survive or die? Dies, right?
I think it would die because it would be like each 1 damage the other units takes would be dealt to it separately.
I think so. Yeah, but
not sure on exactly how that would work. Because it could work.
Also, it would be interesting. Do the whatever it is, 7 of the other 9 die still? Like so, or would all the damage get repointed? But then, right? What's that? Sorry.
I think you'd get to keep 2 of them alive because the first damage will Poison Nova specifically, right? Because Poison Nova would remove the ward and then it would redirect 1 of the damage. It would die, and then
I assume you get to keep 2. Yeah. The question I have is, do you get to keep 9? As in, would the damage all get repointed? Because all the damage would resolve at the same time, right? Poison Nova, the damage resolves to everything at the same time. So I'm not sure what that interaction is. And I'm not sure if it matters.
It would come down to how the replacement effects for the redirect works, which I'm not 100% sure on.
I'm not sure either, but I'm not sure. Maybe it matters for raiding the card. Maybe it doesn't. Don't know. I mean, is it playable and constructed anyway, even if it works that way versus not working that way?
Well, if you think of it as, even without the redirection stuff, if it's just ward and allied minion, right? I don't know how much you want to pay for that. Maybe 2 is something. I mean, the avatar does it for 1, doesn't cost a card, and it's not. It has to be some of that turn. So there's a lot of like things you're paying to make that work, and maybe just paying generically 2 and the card is worth a ward, like as a trick as well.
Probably in Sorcerer.
Yep. And then it comes down to, is that it taking damage from nearby allies? Is it going to be a drawback in that situation? Potentially. But maybe it's an upside as well. I could certainly see like specific turns where they want to sweep you on the next turn, or even just like, and then you drop this and it just completely, messes up their whole turn. You can certainly see scenarios like that. It's definitely not going to be consistent, that's for sure. But the ceiling should be pretty high for this card, I think. And the floor, I don't think the floor is going to be like drastically terrible or anything. Like, I think one of your more average to worse case scenarios is just using it as paying 2 and getting a ward, and then the other ability doesn't really do anything. I think that's probably... So I think in that scenario, would you want to pay 2 for a ward? Yeah, outside of Sorcerer.
And a card.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Feels pretty expensive.
There's certainly going to be situations where you would want to do that as a good trick, but maybe you have enough other ways. Because obviously, like, if you're going to use it as a trick on the same turn so they don't get to interact with it, you basically want to break the ward straight away, right? So if you're thinking, like, in that scenario, you probably want to use it with, like, a decent-sized minion to get, like, a free trade into another decent-sized minion, like your cats or your phalanx-sized units, right? And if your element can't get grapple, maybe this is a good reason to play it.
Well, it costs less. I keep coming back to Sorcerer. Sorcerer is the one that's willing to sacrifice the card advantage. Effectively, like, it'd be happy to burn a card and 2 mana to effectively kill their minion and have yours live.
Well, if you have to pay 2 to keep your minion alive, a lot of the time that's better than paying 3.
If that's all that's happening, it's like, is it better to just have killed their thing outright? But
yeah, but I mean, if the spell that kills something outright, there's not many that just do that, right? Like straight up. But it like unconditionally, as like what sort of like when an attack.
I mean, the big difference with this, I think, is that you can just cast it, get the ward. Like, let's say you're Sorcerer and you got 5 cards in hand, you're drawing 2 a turn, and like there's nothing else to do. You can just ward one of your minions up. Yeah, you don't have to trade with anything this turn, right?
There's also something we haven't really taken into consideration with the damage redirection. You can use that on your own turn as well, as like, so it can potentially be 2 or 3 tricks in one card with this, if you have like a board state with multiple minions in play.
Yeah.
And that might be enough of an upside that it's like pretty strong in those scenarios, in like a heavily creature dominated, board state.
Yeah, it feels playable and limited. Because that'll happen quite a bit.
Oh, absolutely. Most tricks are playable and limited.
Yeah,
but I do see this being played and constructed.
I'm not sure where it will land, and it'll just be one of those cards that you're choosing in those, whatever it is, 20 to 24th slots type of thing. Whether, depending on your deck and depending what other options you got, you may not play this. I don't see this being auto-include and limited.
Maybe, I don't know. I think it's probably pretty strong. I think I'd play it in most decks that I drafted it, unless I had like a decent amount of evil. Because I'm thinking about it in comparison to like Arthurian Legend Lance, like Squires, basically. And I think it's definitely better than probably all of those.
Yeah, but they'll win that.
But
the power level of this set is higher than Arthurian Legends.
Yep.
Well.
Yeah, so it would definitely take context on the rest of the set as well.
And
but we
also
haven't seen
just may be
tricks.
very light in removal and tricks as well, so maybe you don't end up with as many options for this type of effect.
Yeah, that's what I was just going down as well, right? So, but maybe they just haven't revealed the tricks because they're their tricks, right? They're not really splashy. So who knows? But overall, I think the cards are pretty solid.
I mean, it's fine. Like, maybe there's and maybe there's some weird way that, like, you know, there's some minion that says, you know, whenever your opponent damages it, they got to discard a card or something like that, and then all of a sudden it's like some wombo combo. So
I mean, it's also another way to potentially sacrifice a minion, right? If you have like ways to get, you know, you play a minion, you play this on it, and then you run all of your other stuff, including your avatar or whatever, into something that forces it to die. So, and maybe Earth doesn't have that as an option as well. So that's also another thing. Like in Avatar of Earth, right? You could use it to get in an attack with your avatar on a very big unit and not take damage.
yeah, yep, and that's not insignificant.
No,
Same
not at all.
as Battle Mage potentially, and maybe there's even other avatars in this set potentially that.
Well, Persecutor, right, is like a 2-power avatar that likes to move around, so potentially it's pretty good in that deck.
But there may even be another. I don't know.
Because that deck wants to be anti-evil as well anyway, so you're probably not playing... I mean, maybe you are, but you're probably not playing many evil cards. I mean, you're playing a lot of cards that are against evil, and I assume most of them are probably Earth. I mean, they've revealed a couple that are Fire. But yeah, like, you know, it seems like Earth is the good element, and the others are generally more the evil elements, from roughly what they've been revealing anyway.
But I think, yeah, I mean, the thing is another well-designed card. I think it is just really well.
Yeah, I think so too.
Like, it'll have some kind of placing constructed somewhere. It's certainly not an auto-include just because you're playing Earth. And in Limited, I can see you drafting it and playing Earth and it being in your deck, and also it not being in your deck. Potentially. Maybe it ends up being in there most of the time. But I don't know, I like these cards that have a place, but they're not like auto-includes in everything just because it goes anywhere near there.
Yep.
So they're like, I mean, in an ideal world, I feel like that would be like nearly every card. Like it has a place somewhere, right? But not everywhere. So cool. Right. Anything more on this one? I think it's just this artist. Is this their first card? I've not noticed them before.
I haven't noticed that name before, but maybe it is.
I don't think they were in Arthurian Legends or Beta, so it's possible there's some other card revealed in Gothic that they're also the artist for that I didn't notice. To be honest, there's been so many announcements at this point. Like, you know, I haven't even seen all the cards that are revealed at this point. So
that name's not on the the Curiosa artist search, so must be the first set because none of those cards are in the Curiosa yet. So
yeah, sure. I'm just saying I haven't noticed them on other cards in Gothic, but like I say,
cool.
We haven't even seen all the cards probably yet. Like, there's just been so many reveals, we're just struggling to keep up with them at this point. Pretty much. So yeah, but it's definitely got a bit of its own style going on there, art-wise, I think.
And even all the reveals aren't even like a quarter of a set anyway. So
cool. Right. I'll flick back to here. Any closing thoughts on this whole thing?
Ward seems pretty good. Like in a vacuum, Ward's incredible. In the way the games actually play out, who knows how much it costs as like a power balance is going to be very important for these cards, whether or not they're going to be constructed playable. So overall, you know, hopeful that they're probably good. Certainly going to be very good in certain situations.
Yeah, and I feel like if all of a sudden like half of the meta is Ward Roots decks, that there's going to be some errata coming as well. Pretty much. I don't think a lot of people will be very happy if Roots ends up sort of being the best deck. So
I think it's probably...
But it's going to be very hard to build that being consistent without a lot of help, pretty much.
Yeah, no, I was more just thinking, like, if that even became the big deck, I think there's probably a world where, like, Necromancer or something rises up to just like dominate it anyway.
Yep.
Because like it's very easy to deal with wards as necromancer because you have so many dudes kicking around.
Yep. It's probably one that can be kept in check. I just mean it doesn't. I don't know. We'll see. It's one of those decks that I feel like people just don't like pretty much. So it's been quite a while since there was any. Well, pretty much since you expanded the Atlas beyond 20 cards. That's what I mean. I think it's going to need quite a bit of help. But I think the main thing here is like it wouldn't be a Roots deck as such, right? It would just be a Ward deck that has Roots as a free include that just happens to go off once every X games and give you a win when it does. And just up that win rate. So a little bit like how we were treating Barra Bliss, where it just sometimes you just get it and sometimes your opponent plays a lot of mortals and you just win. And it just ups the win rate by whatever amount of percentage points, right? So I think it's just something like that. And then you can consider that maybe you've got a deck that's not quite as competitive, but then you factor in the free wins and whatever else, right? So yeah, I sort of see it more like it's a Ward deck that has Roots as a free include as opposed to a Roots deck sort of thing. So I think just Roots generally is very hard to make work as a consistent Roots deck with 30 cards in the Atlas, unless there's some other way to be able to basically fish it out somehow when you need it. Alrighty. Any other closing thought?
No, don't think so.
I don't think so either. I don't mind the mechanic. It's something a little bit, whatever, new, interesting. However you want to put it. I guess there was Lancers in Arthurian Legends. I guess we get Wards and maybe something else in Gothic.
Well, Evil's the other thing.
Evil.
In Gothic already that's even revealed.
Yeah, whatever. I just mean a little token type thing that...
Oh, tokens one.
Yeah. I suppose it's probably the only one, but that's fine. Guess you don't really want too many of them, so... cool. Alright, yeah. And just looking forward to it on the whole. Seems interesting and very hard to predict for Constructed how it will pan out, but as I was sort of saying throughout, I think definitely a bit of a in principle the Necromancer is going to be very good, or just lots of little tiny one powered minions is just generally going to be really good against wards, and a lack of that type of thing is going to make wards very good against your deck pretty much, right? So if wards are really popular in Constructed, then all of a sudden, you're going to have to really think about putting deserts and like these types of cards in your deck, right? To not just auto lose every time you come against wards. On the whole,
yeah, for sure.
Just fine, right? Happy to see it.
Yeah.
Looks interesting. A lot of the cards are sitting in that perfect spot, in my opinion, where they're like on the fringe, like somewhere between the fringes or the cusp of Constructed playable or quite playable in Constructed, but not auto includes in any deck. None of the cards are that, not even this, right? This is only an auto include if you're mono earth, pretty much.
I think depending on how many of those cards, like, there's also the other side to that, right? Where you have so many cards that are like in that sweet spot that we were talking about. But then there is just enough cards that are not in that sweet spot and are too strong, and it pushes out all of the other cards that are in that sweet spot. That's potentially a risk as well. That's
again, that's just from a whatever you want to play, like making everything as interesting as possible from a competitive standpoint. In my perfect place would be every card is in that zone where it's just it has a place somewhere, and like in an ideal world that would just be every card though. There wouldn't be any cards that are auto includes or any cards that are unplayable. Like every card would just be in that sweet spot.
What I was trying to say though is like that spot isn't ever going to exist, right? Like you can't really balance a game like that. Like when you get such a as a card pool gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So at some point, and maybe now, maybe it's already happened, but there's going to be a point where you get enough of the cards that are too powerful that you can't even play the cards that have like good uses in certain situations. Like they actually even get pushed out of those situations because there's enough cards that are just so powerful that just go into every deck. I don't think it's happened yet, but I'm just saying that is like the flip side to that argument, right? Of like,
well, it's not really an argument. I'm just saying
that.
Yeah.
So argument's probably not the right word for it, but that scenario.
You're talking about reality, and I'm just talking about in an ideal world that doesn't exist and can't exist. Like your idea, in my mind, the ideal situation would be every card was like that. In reality, it's impossible because in reality, or at least in this type of thing,
reality is also currently in a spot without knowing the rest of the set where you still do get to play these cards is what I'm trying to say, right? Whereas you do eventually get to a point where the reality is you don't even get to try and play those cards because, the pool of the other cards is too big. That's just what I'm trying to say.
Yep. But yeah, just saying similar but not whatever, overlapping things a little bit. I'm just saying, yeah. All I'm saying is a lot of these cards are designed in that space where I think every card should be, and the fact that some aren't, and that means that potentially all of these get pushed out to never being able to be played again. I mean, you just end up with power creep over time, and that bar just elevates over time. That's sort of the natural thing for these types of games. Or you end up, I guess, going a different direction where you sort of, not every card ends up being playable when constructed because you do types of things that they're probably not going to do for sorcery. So you just end up with the power creep model instead. But that's fine if it's one set a year and the whole thing's managed well. You're talking about a very long time in the future before you run out of ability to creep power, I guess you could say. And in the meantime, you're just bumping out. In the meantime, I guess boss trolls just becomes increasingly less playable over time, but it already wasn't played anyway. I don't know. All I'm really trying to say is that in an ideal world, every card will be in this type of design space. But we don't live in an ideal world, and there's already a lot of cards that are outside of this space. So, as you were saying, I like the design of these cards though on the whole, and I like the art on the whole as well. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Alrighty. Thanks everyone for watching, and we are looking forward to Gothic being released, and I hope everybody enjoys the release events and everything that they've got going on. Keep safe, keep well, keep enjoying your sorcery, and we'll catch you for the next video.
Bye.